Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I want to do a dark shadows reading for the new moon in Cancer and also just for Cancer season in general. I hope that this reading finds you well and that it brings you some clarity and some guidance as to what to focus on as the moon is now dark in the sky, even if there are fireworks here in the US. So let's get into it and let's see what the cards have to say. I will be using a spread that I actually have available for personalized readings in my shop. So if you're interested in kind of seeing how this reading or this spread works for you and what maybe you have been needing to look at or pay attention to within yourself, you can always purchase it in my shop. And readings can be purchased through the website or the link in my little bio. Okay, so the very first card I want to talk about is going to be, what shadow aspect do I need to work on? So this is, what shadow aspect do we need to work on at this time with the Cancer new moon? So here we have naked before the stars. All right, so next to that we have how to work on our shadows. Like, how should we work on our shadows at this time? So here we have the Seeker of Wands. And now we have, which potential should I develop in order to grow? So what is it that we need to focus on in order for us to grow at this time? Then we have forgiveness. All right, then we're going to start again. This is going to be, what aspects of myself are blocking me? And this is the Triumph of Lies. And then we have, what do I need to heal to change them? So what do we need to heal to change them? So we have the Eight of Wands. And then we have, finally, what actions do I need to take in order to act towards my values? So here we have false beliefs. Okay, so hopefully everything is looking good. I'm going to just check and see. I never get them on here straight, so hopefully we can kind of straighten it out and you guys aren't driven crazy by that. Okay, so I actually have never pulled this card before. So this is, what shadow aspect do I need to work on? So what shadow aspect should we collectively focus on working through at this current time with this dark new moon? So naked before the stars. I'm trying to think of what this is kind of bringing up for me. So maybe there is a sense of disconnection between ourselves, what we're feeling, maybe what's going on in the universe and how that relates to us as individuals, as well as like maybe different aspects of ourselves that are being called to show up. And maybe there is a sense of feeling very vulnerable about who we are, if everything was stripped down. And I think Cancer season does bring this reminder of, it's okay for us to feel, it's okay for us to kind of, not have this hard exterior shell all of the time and to allow that softness to kind of come through. And I think with this is that maybe a lot of us feel like it's hard for us to really truly be ourselves and to really show up as we have been meaning to show up. And so maybe there's a little bit of a challenge or a difficulty with what that means for us as individuals and how we can actually, move past certain aspects of our own vulnerability, or being okay with saying, this is something that I want, this is something that I need, this is how I should show up at this time. And so I think with the shadow aspect here that we need to work on is that maybe we haven't been as open, we haven't been as stripped down to ourselves to really see what is underneath it all. What is it that we really want at this time? And it isn't to say that we all have like different motivations that are driving us. I mean, it's true, but not all of the motivations or intentions or the things that we want to focus on are always negative or something that would make us seem completely different from what other people see within us. And I don't think like that's what it's trying to tell you. I think it's more of saying like maybe strip it down for yourself, like really focus on, you know, who you are, what is it that you want. Maybe you need to just kind of peel back some of those layers and see, are you acting out of a place of hurt? Are you, really showing up in the ways that you value and in the ways that you find to be in alignment with everything that you're trying to do moving forward? And so I think that the naked before the stars card, I think it's just really a reminder of maybe we just need to be a little bit more vulnerable. We need to be a little bit more, not to say exposed, but maybe a little bit more ourselves as we kind of move through the rest of this year. And I think with having Saturn and Neptune retrograde at this time, I think that there is almost this call of like, we need to kind of just simplify. We need to strip it back. We need to be more mindful of this energy and what it means overall. Like, what it means overall for us to just really be ourselves, to not feel like we have this protective layering to kind of keep the outside world away from us. And I think naked before the stars is that maybe we have to recognize and realize that even if we're like, oh, I want my life to look this way and I'm going to be this way and I'm going to present myself into the world in this manner, at the end of the day, like the universe knows what our soul really truly is trying to express and what is actually going on within ourselves. And I think naked before the stars is kind of saying like, even if your intentions are to present yourself one way, the universe understands that it's another. And so we need to just have those two things align and really be what your soul is really trying to share and shine and kind of exist in at this current time. So let's move on to card number 2. This is the, how to work on my shadows. And here we have the Seeker of Wands, which if I haven't used this deck in a while, I think it is the Knight of Wands. So what we need to do here, when I think of the Knight of Wands, I think of, okay, he has like the lit, he's got like the wand, but I can almost like see it like almost like a old school like torch. So almost like we need to like set it on fire. We need to go after what it is within ourselves that we haven't really seen, what we haven't really been paying attention to, what we've been lacking in some way. And I think the Seeker of Wands is here as an invitation for us because it's saying, how can we work on our shadows? And this is almost saying like, we need to shine a light on it. We need to just kind of get out into the world within ourselves and see what is going on. Maybe we need to not just be holed up in the house either. Maybe our sense of getting out into the world is how we can start, working on those shadows, is by getting out and doing different things and challenging ourselves and, reigniting our sense of passion, reigniting our sense of creativity, being a little bit more, aware that it's okay if we don't always have the answers or if we don't always know exactly what's going on. When I think of the Knight of Wands, I think that it's very much not just like this invitation to challenge some of the thoughts that we've been carrying that maybe no longer make sense for what we're trying to align ourselves with. I think that there's also this like beautiful sense of vibrancy, of passion, of just like warmth. And I think this is almost saying you need to kind of go back out into the world, find what warms you up, find what makes you feel connected and that allows you to feel like a sense of drive and passion and connection to yourself once again. And maybe it's a card of let's get moving, let's get that momentum going, let's not hang back. So I think with this, it's really saying the way that we can work on our shadows is by saying, I may not always have all of the experience, I may not always know exactly where I'm headed, but I know that by being determined to just kind of get away from what I've been doing and how I have been doing it, it will open the door to a lot of different possibilities and the potential for me to really show up in new ways. So I think the Seeker of Wands is an invitation to kind of get back out into the world, enjoy ourselves, see things in a new light, see things in a new way, and not be held in place by different ideas or different expectations that we've been placing on ourselves. And I think if we kind of look back at the lesson of Naked Before the Stars, where we're getting this reminder of like, hey, we need to kind of strip it down. We need to just keep it simple. And the, Knight of Wands is kind of saying, all right, for us to kind of get out there and do what we need to do, we really need to just do it. We need to stop trying to think about how it's going to look. It's more of, I feel like the wands, because they are fire signs, I feel like it also is very relatable to cardinal sign energy, and Cancer is a cardinal sign. And so they are here to kind of get things started. They start off the seasons, they start off the different shifts and changes that we have going on throughout the year. And so here we're kind of like given this energy of like, all right, we've started it. What are we doing? What are we doing with this energy? Let's get out there and just really move with this energy and not hang back. So for card number 3, which potential should I develop in order to grow? We have forgiveness. So this is pretty simple to understand. So our hurt is blocking our light. So I think forgiveness is one of these things that a lot of us struggle with. And it's very normal to struggle with a sense of forgiveness, especially when we have been mistreated or hurt or have had damaging things happen to us. And I don't think that this is saying forgiveness of everything that has ever happened to you or the people that have done things to you. I think forgiveness in this sense, especially when it's talking about that hurt that is blocking out your light, sometimes it's really that internalized forgiveness of ourselves and really forgiving ourselves for being mistreated, for allowing certain behaviors, for putting ourselves in danger or in, not so nice situations in our lives, for not knowing better. I think a lot of us really just kind of beat a dead horse, so to speak, within ourselves of like, oh, I should have done this and I should have known that and I should have, listened here and I shouldn't have, whatever. And so a lot of us really struggle with the sense of forgiveness and moving past that kind of energy. And I think that this is really saying that the potential here that we need to develop in order for us to grow is the sense of allowing ourselves to allow our shine, allow our light to shine, blah, blah, allow our shine. You can allow your shine, but also allowing your internal light to really, truly shine. And a big thing is forgiveness. It's not easy. I love to hang on to a little grudge or two. I almost like keep them like little pets or whatever. But I will say that in certain situations where I have extended forgiveness to myself and the situation and the circumstances and the people involved, the easier it's been for me to kind of really refocus my energy on things that truly speak to my heart and speak to my soul. So I think with forgiveness here, we're just being given, I guess to say like almost an invitation to say, okay, what is it that maybe is blocking us from really showing up as we are meant to show up and not allowing us to kind of shift and move forward? And I think with having Neptune and Saturn both, stationing retrograde, and they've both have been in the sign of Pisces. So we're kind of getting this like, okay, we need to redo something here. We're not moving forward the way that we need to. And so maybe there's something that we haven't seen so clearly because of Neptune, or maybe there's something where we've been too rigid with ourselves because of Saturn. And I think that both of these energies are kind of influencing this like redirection within ourselves of like, okay, maybe I need to let go of certain things that have maybe been dredged up, and I need to forgive myself and I need to forgive the situation so that I can find the peace necessary for me to move forward. That's really the whole thing with shadow work. It may seem like it's very much like getting into the dark and deep depths of yourself, but I almost like to look at it as like a deep house cleaning. You're doing things that maybe you don't do all of the time, but then recognizing that it's almost like resetting everything fresh, getting everything back to what you would have wanted it to look like and what you know the potential is kind of there. So it's going to take a little bit of elbow grease. It's going to take a little bit of attention and time and focus in order for you to get it to right back to where it was, if that makes sense. And so I think with forgiveness, it's very much a beautiful element to kind of add into your current shadow work practice. And I hope that it allows you to kind of look at the things within yourself that are wanting to kind of shine through. And with this being the potential, it's almost saying like allowing yourself to really shine. And in order for you to really grow, we have to kind of start doing some of these heavier things within ourselves, whether it's like heavy lifting in starting the forgiveness process. And again, sometimes with forgiveness, I know for me personally, for years, I was like waiting for the other person to acknowledge what they had done wrong and to apologize to me. But unfortunately, that is not something that I may ever receive or that I may ever really allow myself to even have from the other person, if that makes sense. And I think with forgiveness, that was one of the biggest things I had to really do with myself, is to kind of forgive myself for how I was treated, forgive myself for putting myself in that situation, forgive myself for expecting, you know, other people to meet me where I was at, if that makes sense. And sometimes we fall for the potential in others, whether that is in romantic or intimate relationships or even our friendships or with family. A lot of relationships, I think, you know, some of us have this idealization of what we think a relationship should look like. And I think by really focusing on forgiveness, we are given an opportunity to kind of say, okay, I can forgive myself for having this expectation that I thought it was going to be one way, and then realizing, no, it actually is not going to be that way. It's going to be a little bit different. So I think forgiveness is kind of saying like our potential here is to allow our light to really truly shine through and to show up in the ways that we need. And so we need to kind of shift out of this energy. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a coffee break. All right, so let's move on to card number 4. So here we have, what aspects of myself are blocking me? So here we have the triumph of lies. So this isn't to say you have been like just going off the rails with the imagination or the fibbing or the storytelling. I think that this is more of a reminder for us that sometimes we aren't always quite as honest with ourselves as we need to be. And I think that this is almost saying like, hey, this is what's blocking you, is that maybe the stories you're telling yourself aren't really in alignment with what's actually been going on. Or maybe you think that, you know, what is it? Delulu is a Salulu. And this isn't to say that some delusions aren't actually a part of a potential solution. And it isn't so much, because I think when people think of like Delulu is a Salulu, like that whole little thing, is that they're thinking, oh, so if I'm like trying to manifest, that's like me being delusional. And it's not that. I feel like the Triumph of Lies card is more of where we have just co-created a different narrative and story for what's been going on. So we are kind of held back by that expectation, or we tell ourselves, oh, this is what it should look like, or this is what it will be like, or this is what it will feel like, or when someone is like this, that means that they actually feel about me this way. And I think that's more of what this card is focusing on, is that recognizing that we can't always explain away how other people are showing up in our lives. And we can't always make an excuse for their failings in our relationships to us, to how, you know, to their potential. And I think with the Triumph of Lies card, I think the biggest thing here, since it's talking about like what are the aspects of yourself that are blocking us right now during this new moon and during Cancer season is that maybe we have been accepting less than what we deserve. And so we haven't really been allowing ourselves to be honest in some ways. And I think with all of the other cards where, we have to kind of strip it down and get back to basics, and we have to understand that we have to be willing to kind of go for the truth of the situation, to really reconnect to that sense of what is actually really going on. And maybe that is why forgiveness is here, because it's saying, hey, just because you're shining a light and kind of like showing up in the ways that you know that you need at this current moment, there may be a sense of something has been failing you, or something has not really been working the way that you thought. So I think with Triumph of Lies, especially with this being something that is blocking us at this current time, is that we're not really seeing the truth of the situation. We're a little behind, so to speak, with ourselves, and maybe we have just not been quite as truth seeking as we thought, or as we should be, so to speak. And I think with Triumph of Lies is that we don't always want to have people be dishonest with us. We don't always want to have to deal with the aftermath of realizing that not everyone has the same heart as we do, or that not everyone has the same intention to show up the way that we need. So moving on to the card number 5, this is what do I need to heal to change them? So like the aspects of ourselves that are blocking us, and this is what we need to do in order to change those aspects of ourselves. So here we have the 8 of Wands, again, another Wands card. I feel like this is very much like getting that second wind, kind of saying, okay, things maybe didn't go the way that I had intended. Maybe it's been a little bit challenging. Things have been, I've been trying to kind of build up what I need, and I have just not really found myself to be as victorious as I want over certain aspects. The 8 of Wands is kind of here saying, all right, let's get that second win. Let's keep going. Let's do what we need to do. And again, this is Wands. So again, we have this like invitation of lighting things up, of shining a light and having that sense of recognition and that stability that we've been looking for, as well as really recognizing that we get to choose what it is that we're building for ourselves. So I think with this, it's like, what do I need to do to heal, to change these different aspects of myself that I feel that have been blocking me? This is almost saying like, okay, we need to kind of reestablish like who we are, what we want, what drives us, what is not just significant for us at the current moment, but also what we feel that we really truly need at this time. And so I think the 8 of Wands is a beautiful invitation to kind of get back out there and set our intentions moving forward so that we can really build something that makes sense for us for the long haul. And I think that by recognizing some of the things that haven't really been going the way that we had intended, or really feeling a lot of these feelings kind of come up, is because we're ready to kind of process them. And I think with the 8 of Wands, it's someone saying like, okay, these things have come back up. Let's deal with them. This is our second win. This is our opportunity to just kind of get out there and do what we need to do, and not be distracted or feel a little bit disconnected from our journey and what we want and what we need. So I think with the 8 of Wands, with this being, what do I need to heal to change them? The Wands are also a very spiritual suit. They really talk about healing the spirit in a lot of different ways. And it is very much about that passion, that creativity, that drive, that momentum, that movement. But there's also this kind of spiritual element that comes through. And so I think having 2 Wands cards are kind of saying, hey, spiritually, some of these lessons are ready for us to process. So this is our opportunity. Even if you feel like I've dealt with it previously, I've tried to do it before, it didn't work. This is your second wind, right? That's the big lesson of the 8 of Wands, is that it is here as an invitation to kind of get back out there, to do something different, to challenge yourself to overcome this time, because you have done everything necessary. You have the foundation needed in order for you to kind of move into the next thing. So finally, we can talk about, what actions do I need to take in order to act towards my values? And here we have false beliefs. So again, I feel like a lot of this is these stories that we're telling ourselves. So this says that once the untruths that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations they confine us to. I think that this is just kind of saying, hey, with the actions that we need to take to act towards our values, we need to address some of the false beliefs. We need to really confront some of these stories, some of these things that we've been highlighting within ourselves. We need to look at some of the untruths within ourselves that we believe about who we are, what we're willing to do, how we're showing up, and allowing those things to be illuminated truly by allowing our light to shine through, so that we can release all of these false limitations we've been carrying within ourselves that, have been confining us in our lives, that have not allowed us to really show up the way that we're supposed to. And I think that's where this new moon is trying to lead a lot of us, is to kind of help us see the truth of who we are, the truth of what is actually going on, what it is that we've been kind of carrying within ourselves. And if that is not in alignment with, what we want, who we are, what we have going on, then maybe it's an opportunity for us to kind of shift out of old patterns. And I think it's interesting. We have number 13 and 26. That's like half, right? So I feel it's like maybe this is a reminder that even if you feel like you're halfway there, there's nothing wrong with how these things are trying to show up for you. We are being given an opportunity to start the next level, because here we have the number 9 and here we have the number 1. It's almost saying like there's stuff that we need to let go of in order for us to start this new journey, to really move into the next thing, for us to really rise up to the next level. And maybe we're just hanging back a little bit because we feel a little bit uncomfortable with the things that have been showing up in different ways. And I think the other thing with this is that false beliefs, to me, is really saying, let's look at that narrative. Let's look at the stories within ourselves. Let's look at, what have we been carrying? Does it make sense? Is it something that is true? Is it really the root of the story that is going on here? So I think that, the actions that we need to take is that we need to start confronting these things. We need to start looking at, where have we been limiting ourselves by retelling these stories, by focusing on these aspects, by not allowing ourselves to kind of act towards who we truly are. Because the question again is, what actions do I need to take to act towards my values? And here we have the false beliefs card. So it's almost saying, hey, we've been carrying these stories, we've been carrying these things that really don't align with what is trying to show up for us. So we need to be a little bit more mindful of this energy and what it means for us overall, and really start paying attention to, what sort of things are we thinking? What sort of things have we been hanging on to? What sort of truths have we been seeking out that maybe aren't really the root of what we have been needing within ourselves? So I think with false beliefs, it's just a reminder that there are a lot of things that we over time have grown to believe, that we have normalized within our lives, that maybe don't really mean like that is what it is. And that doesn't mean that that is how life always will be, or how it will always feel. So I think with false beliefs, it's almost saying we have to really get to the bottom of things. We really need to pay attention to, what sort of things have we been hanging on to? What sort of things have we been telling ourselves? And when can we start letting that go? So I think that overall, these cards are kind of saying that we're ready to kind of get to the truth of the matter, of really getting back into understanding what we want, what we need, what we've been, looking for, how we're showing up in different parts of our lives. And it's not going to feel the most comfortable, but it is something that will allow us to really shift into the next season and really be prepared for this upcoming full moon in Capricorn, because we're going to have 2 this season. And so it's almost like we're getting to touch back on certain lessons that we haven't really explored too deep. So it's almost saying like, okay, we were at the beginning of Cancer season. We had that full moon in Capricorn. Now we're here on July 5th with a new moon in Cancer. And then we will have another full moon in Capricorn, I think at 29 degrees. And so we're kind of like given a lot of this push to figure out what it is that we're wanting to focus on and what seeds are we planting for this next season. So I hope that this made sense. Let me know how you like what you thought about this reading, if you enjoyed it, or if you prefer some of my other shadow work readings. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.